What is up, fellow Hoops fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV. As always, brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. Now it's Wednesday morning. We've got to give a warm round of applause and a welcome back to old mate Parky. We're going to start the slow clap. Parky, how are you, mate?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty good, thanks, Nick. Recovering okay from the surgery. I have been gobbling some pretty heavy painkillers, like lollies, but that's okay. But I've been in a bit of a daze, mate. But last time we spoke, last show was last Wednesday, and the Suns had a 3-2 lead in their series against the Mavericks, and they've just beaten them in Game 5 by 30 points, 110-80. Now, have I been in a painkiller daze for the last 5 days, or is it true? Did that really happen? Did the Suns lose by 60 points in the last 2 games of that series? A team that won 64 games, had coach of the year. Are you telling me that really happened?
Mate, I think 2 things can be true in this situation. You probably were in a painkiller daze, and the Suns did lose those last 2 games, mate.
And I'm not happy because the only 2 tips that I gave while I was away, that my great tipping. Well, I've been doing actually pretty well, I must say. But the 2 tips I gave was Game 6 was Suns. I think I had to cover 2.5 points. Yeah. Okay, we lost that one. I thought, okay, fair enough. We're going to get our money back. Game 7, there's no way they're going to lose. And at halftime, Luka had as many points as the Suns. There's a lot of stuff going on with DeAndre Ayton and the coach, and people weren't happy, and it's just all turned to a big mess now. So, that was, I was probably a little bit, I was hoping I was in a daze because of those tips that I still sent into the show. But, that was a bit of a wow moment.
Look, in fairness, Parky, I actually agreed with your tips too. So I made the exact same prediction. So we're both in the same boat, mate.
I don't think we're the Lone Rangers.
No, the Phoenix Suns let a lot of people down, mostly themselves, though, I have to say, because I thought that, especially once Milwaukee went out, I thought Phoenix was the team to beat. They've proved us wrong. But let's get into the Phoenix Suns, Parky, because like you mentioned, there is a whole lot happening over there in the desert. DeAndre Ayton's unhappy. The coach is probably unhappy with him as well. The big news, though, is probably this Pat Beverley and Chris Paul beef that seems to be stewing along and sort of, mainly due to Pat Beverley, actually, who appeared yesterday on ESPN's First Take. He came at Chris Paul. He had some pretty harsh words following the Suns crashing out of the playoffs there in Game 7. We're going to listen to the clip of what Pat Beverley said right now.
Ain't nobody worried about Chris Paul when we play Phoenix Suns. Nobody in the NBA.
Well, what did I just say, though?
And I'm just letting you know how NBA players feel and think.
I believe you, but what I'm saying
He's finessed the game to a point where he gets all the petty calls, all the swipe throughs at the end. I mean, this guy is out, man. We gonna be honest? We want to be really honest?
Yes.
He should have fouled out. He should have fouled out. The last game, too. You see the replay against Brunson, hit him on the shoulder, hit him in the mouth, ref don't call anything. If that's me, review it. Flagrant 1. If that's him, they don't call it. So let's not get it twisted, man. He should have fouled out. He can't guard. He literally can't guard.
He can't guard.
Yeah.
He can't. Chris Paul can't guard anybody? Is that what you say?
Did you see that? No, he can't. Everyone knows that.
Excuse me. No. I don't know that. I haven't heard anybody tell me that.
Because you haven't suited up. You know, guys don't like to tell you all the truth. You know that. Because they scared. They scared what you going to take with it.
No, he's right about that. They will lie. He's honest. They will lie. That is true. He's not lying about that.
CP can't guard nobody, man. Everybody in the NBA know that. Everybody know that.
Can't guard anybody.
What we call them? Cone. You know what you do with cones? Like when in the summertime, you got a cone. You make a move. What does the cone do?
Stay still.
Exactly. Yeah. He's a cone. Stop playing, man. Everybody knows that. Everyone knows that. It's just y'all don't want to accept it because.
No, I don't accept that. No. I'm saying again, if you're taller than them, you say you can shoot over him. Obviously, that's an issue.
But give him the Ben Simmons slander. Give him the PG-13 slander. Give him the slander that you give everybody. Come on, Steve.
Now, Parky, there is a lot to unpack right there. There is a lot to unpack from that.
He's a cone.
There was a lot there to unpack. Look. In fairness, Chris Paul was a little bit passive in Game 6 and 7. I believe he had 8 shots in Game 6, 7 in Game 7, or something along those lines. it turns out he probably had carrying an injury since about game 2, which might explain that sort of sharp drop-off in his performance, Parky. But to say that Chris Paul, to me, it comes across as very petty from Pat Beverley, right? He's come out on TV. We know it's a personal thing. Those two don't like each other. They're, by Pat Beverley's own admission, that beef goes back to their high school days. But last year, I think it was, the Suns eliminated the Clippers, and Chris Paul had 41 points on Pat Beverley. So to say that he can't guard anybody, or he's not good, or he's a cone, all that sort of stuff, it's just a whole lot of pettiness for me.
Oh no, it is, and it's personal. It's totally personal. You could tell just in that clip that we showed there that he was actually talking about how Chris Paul gets away with certain fouls, and if it was him, he would. That just shows you how. I mean, Pat Bev. You're going to love him if he's on your team, you love him, and if he's not on your team, you don't like him. So there's a lot of people that don't like Pat Beverley, but it's a bit similar with Chris Paul. He's a very polarizing player. There are a lot of beef in the NBA, and as an old school guy like myself, I don't mind these beefs at all. I think it's kind of entertaining, but I also think this one's very disrespectful. It's kicking a guy when he's down. I don't really think. Chris Paul's not as bad as. Look, he can be attacked. Look, he's been that height his whole career. It's no surprise. Yes, he is a little bit small. Sometimes the bigger guards like Luka can have his way with him. They do attack him a lot at the offensive end. But in saying that, I think that was just totally personal by Pat Bev. And the thing that even amazes me the most is that in the last couple of nights he's been on ESPN, he's a Harden guy, so he sticks up. He sticks up for James Harden, and yet he's down on Chris Paul. So I find that sort of hard to marry up those two things, because when you talk about those two guys, Chris Paul and James Harden, they could be a couple of the greatest sort of Hall of Fame type caliber players that are never going to win a title. There could be an article coming up, Nick, I think, pretty soon for you, mate. All the Hall of Fame guys that haven't won a title. I think Charles Barkley would be on that list, and Pat Ewing as well. Pat Ewing, yeah, and maybe Chris Paul and James Harden end up on that list as well. But Pat Bev's just getting totally crazy and personal.
Yeah, it was totally, for me, it was a little bit out of pocket from Pat Bev. And then obviously some former players have already spoken up against him. Matt Barnes being one of them, who was also on ESPN and criticised Pat Beverley later in that day, saying basically that a player like him, a role player, shouldn't be criticising a player like Chris Paul. He said that, obviously Chris Paul's resume speaks for itself, and that Pat Beverley was disrespectful in that. So, look, I was watching it. I'm like, Pat Beverley's definitely auditioning for a role on First Take once he's retired, with all this sort of outlandishness.
He could be the next Stephen A., you think?
Yeah, he's definitely auditioning for that. That's what it's great. Like, he gets it right in terms of, I'm not saying that he doesn't believe what he's saying, but he gets the entertainment aspect of it, and he's happy to play the heel.
Oh, for sure. And look, he does get personal. I don't think, he hasn't been in the TV game he's only been in it for a couple of minutes. But it is hard. I can understand being an ex-player and stuff. You can side for some of the players, but he's just totally personal. He's all for James Harden, getting his big bag of money over in Philly, which, that's a bit of a contentious point. And yet, he's saying about how bad Chris Paul is. So, I don't mind the fact that he's a role player. I mean, whether you're a role player, or whether you're a superstar, or whether you're a journalist, or whatever it is, if you've got knowledge of the game, you've been following the game for a while, I think you're entitled to your opinion. But I think his are just very, very personal. And but it is entertaining, I guess. But it's been interesting to see the guys that have come out in support of Chris Paul as well.
Yeah, Parky, look, I don't think this is the last we've heard from Pat Beverley on this topic. I'm pretty sure we're going to hear some more words from him in the very near future. So I'm sure we'll be talking about this again. Let's move on to the NBA Draft Lottery, Parky, because that's going to be held today. I believe it's at 9:30 a.m. or give or take Australian time. Now, we've got the odds up here in terms of each team's percentage to win the number one pick. The Rockets have a 14% chance, along with the Magic and the Pistons. The OKC Thunder have a 12.5% chance. Pacers 10.5%, and then there's obviously a bunch of teams there, and the percentages drop right down to the Cavaliers, which have 0.5% chance of winning that. Now, obviously, it is a lottery, Parky, so anything can happen. Who do you think ends up with the number one pick?
Well, I could just probably those top three teams that have got the 14%. I like the way they're doing it now. It's just not a straight up wherever you finish, you get that pick. So they've tried to do it to eliminate a bit of tanking. But now, one thing I noticed on that list that stood out to me with the Pelicans, they got a 6% chance of getting it, and they got their pick from the Lakers. So I'm kind of rooting for the Pelicans. I'd love that young team to imagine if they got the number one pick, which came from the Lakers. That'd be a smack in the face to a lot of the Lakers fans. But I'm rooting for them to get it, or even I think OKC. They got so many. Presti's got so many draft picks over there. Yeah. Imagine if he ended up scoring the number one pick. I think he was down to a 1.5% chance. That was the Thunder to get the pick. But that would be handy for Josh Giddey and SGA if they had a good running mate, maybe like a Jabari Smith or someone like that that are touted to go number one.
Well, let's take a look at some of the odds, courtesy of topsport.com.au as well. So these are the odds for the projected number one pick. Jabari Smith is the favorite here, 205. Chet Holmgren, 280. Paolo Banchero is $4. Shaden Sharp, 41. Kind of drops off there after the top three, doesn't it, Parky? We've got probably, all eyes in terms of us Australians, all eyes on Dyson Daniels. Now, he won't go number one. He's $501 there, probably for a good reason. Like we said, he definitely won't go number one. But as Australians, we'll be keeping a keen eye on him, Parky.
Yes, and I don't think he's going to go as high as Josh Giddey did a year ago. Of course, he went number 6 and the OKC took him. But yeah, I think Dyson Daniels, he could surprise some people. I got some mail yesterday that, there's a team over there in the East that are having a good look at him. And he could go as high as, sort of number 10, somewhere around there. So that'd be great for the kid. I played with his dad, Ricky Daniels, down in Bendigo for a year there, and when he was a little kid, and he's got some great sons coming through there as well. Dyson's not the only one, but we'd love to see Dyson Daniels get a good team and go pretty high in this draft.
He's definitely got all the skills, as a modern sort of NBA player to fit, on its roster. So I'm pretty sure he's going to succeed when he does get drafted. All right, Parky, let's get into it now because we're down to 4 teams in the NBA.
The final four.
The final four. We're in the conference final stage. Boston versus Miami in the East, and over in the West, we've got Golden State and the Dallas Mavericks. Let's take a look at the Eastern Conference first, Parky. I'm looking at this. This is going to be a good series, right? We've got 2 very good defensive teams. The keys for me, I'm looking at the Miami Heat and I'm thinking, is there an over-reliance on Jimmy Butler? And will the Celtics defense look to shut him down and make the other guys beat them in this series?
Yes, well, that's going to be the key to this. And we just saw the odds there for the series, which has come right in there. The Heat at $2.10. They were $2.55 yesterday. So I think a couple of the injuries and stuff we'll talk about a bit later. But yeah, there's been some money coming for the Heat, and a lot of people are saying they've been underrated. They're one of those underrated teams that have. I mean, they're the number 1 seed in the East, and they've got they've got home court advantage in this best of 7 series, and people are still saying the other guys are going to win. So I think there's a lot of motivation there for the Heat, but they've got a lot of bodies to be able to throw at Jason Tatum. PJ Tucker, although I think he might even be questionable for game 1. But when they switch with Bam, they've got Jimmy Butler there to be able to guard him. They've got a number of options to throw at JT. But yeah, it's going to come down to those 3-pointers. As we saw the Celtics, that's what got them the series win against the Bucks. And the Heat have got some good 3-point shooters as well. So, yeah, I think, it's going to come down to, I think, who hits the most threes.
Yeah, look, you mentioned Miami's defense there. They do love to switch. It seems like on every single, play, they're switching. Like I said, for me, it's that Jimmy Butler thing. I hope that they're not too dependent on him. Tyler Hero, obviously the sixth man of the year, had a great regular season, but he's been a little bit inconsistent in the playoffs so far. He needs to sort of raise his game, especially against a team like Boston that is going to key in on Jimmy Butler a lot. I think he needs to sort of raise his level of play a little bit and be a bit more consistent to give him that other offensive threat as well. What do you reckon, Pikey?
Yeah, no, I agree. And there's another guy that's on my mind about that too, Duncan Robinson, who they paid a lot of money for to sign him up as the assassin to come off the bench and shoot those threes. And with Victor Oladipo playing so well, his minutes haven't been as high as they probably should be or as he was used to. So yeah, I think they're gonna look to get some points from him as well. I mean, Tyler Hero's been pretty consistent off the bench doing his job, but I think they're going to look to get some minutes and some shot attempts up from Duncan Robinson.
All right, let's take a look at some of these game and series odds for the Eastern Conference Finals before we jump over to the West, and we'll get some predictions out of you, Parky, and obviously me as well. So we've got the Miami Heat. They're going into Game 1 as favourites, $1.51. Celtics, $2.61. The line's at -4.5. Total is at 203.5. You can watch that one live on ESPN a little bit later on today. Parky, what are you seeing from this game, from this series, and obviously your prediction?
Well, I'd circled yesterday that my prediction was going to be the Celtics. They were just slight underdogs in this game, but now they're 4.5-point underdogs. And that's because we got the news this morning that old man Al, who had that great game in the Milwaukee series where he had 30 points, he's going to be out with health protocol. So, and he's probably going to miss Game 2 as well. So, with him out and Marcus Smart out as well. Sorry, he's an even bigger impact in that. I'm actually switching, and I'm going to take the Heat -4.5 in this game. Although I think there's good news for the Celtics. I think Robert Williams is looking like he's going to play in this game, which is good for them. But no, I just think at home, the Heat. The other thing too is that the Heat have had 5 days rest, whereas the Celtics, it was only 48 hours ago that they were in that Game 7 battle in Boston, and Giannis was looking pretty beaten up after that series, and I'm sure that the guys that were playing against him are fairly well beaten up too. So I'm giving the edge in this Game 1 to the Heat, even though I truly think the Celtics should probably come through, in the East in this series. But it's just in this Game 1, I think it's looking a bit, it's looking like the Heat for me. So I think the Heat are going to cover that 4.5 points Game 1.
I'm going with the Heat as well in Game 1. I just think sometimes also that 5 days break might work against you. But I just think that the Miami Heat team is a very well-drilled team. Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the NBA. I think they win Game 1. You're going with Boston in the series, are you, Parky?
The only reason I'm saying that is because at the very start of all this, I picked them to come out of the East, and I picked the Warriors to come out of the West. So I'm looking pretty good there. So, so I'm a little bit torn because I've sort of had the Celtics coming through in that series. That's a bit of a tough one. And like I said, I had the Celtics initially picked in this Game 1, but with those outs and after reassessing, and I think and I'm not the only one thinking that way too. A lot of money has come for the Heat in this Game 1.
Yeah, Parky, I'm torn, right? Because as a New York fan, and I can't root for a Boston team, but my head is telling me that the Boston Celtics are going to come out of the Eastern Conference. I do think this one goes the distance as well. I think it's going to go 7 games. It's going to be really fun to watch. Yeah,
no, it will, and not to lay the boots into any 76ers fans out there, but how would they be feeling with Jimmy Butler and going up against Al Horford, two guys that were playing for, who've been, involved in the 76ers organization. And Jimmy Butler hasn't forgotten. I think after he walked out of that series against the Sixers, he sort of asked the question, you picked Tobias Harris over me. Yeah. So I think Jimmy's got his back up. So Jimmy's not going to go quietly in this series. So this is an intriguing series. We're going to go game by game on this one, Nick, which is great. But Game 1 for me, I think the Heat at home will get it done. All right,
we both agree on that one there. Let's move over to the Western Conference, Parky, Dallas and Golden State. Now, everyone thought this was going to be Phoenix versus Golden State, But Luka Doncic has been absolutely incredible. He has carried this team on his back to reach this stage. Can he continue to do it against the Warriors? The money here says no. The Warriors are favorites in this series, $1.45. Mavericks, $2.75. Mavs did win the season series against Golden State, 3-1. But like I said, if they're going to have to beat him in this series, I think they're going to have to need more than Luka Doncic. They're going to have to need somebody like Spencer Dinwiddie to sort of step up and be that consistent second option for the Mavericks. The Warriors had a tough time stopping Ja Morant in their previous series. So I don't know how they're going to cope trying to stop Doncic. Parky, what's the X factor for the Warriors in this series?
Well, I think it's going to be their team defense. I think that's the big X factor in this one. And it was interesting to hear Steve Kerr talk about this series coming up, and he likened it to when Houston had that sort of small ball lineup with their 5 out with James Harden as their high usage sort of point guard playmaker, but he was also their leading scorer. So I think there's a lot of similarities with those two teams. So I think Golden State are prepared. They've seen this show before. So I think it's going to be very interesting how they do it. But I think they've got the team to do it, and they've got a lot of bodies that they can throw at Luka. I mean, there's been talk that Draymond Green may even start on him or play a lot of minutes on him. Wiggins for me is probably the matchup I'd start on him. But yeah, we'll wait and see how that goes. But they've got a lot of options there, and I think Gary Payton Jr.'s or the second or whatever he's called, Gary Payton's kid. I think he could be coming back in this series as well. So he helps them out defensively, another body to throw at Luka as well. So yeah, I think it's the X factor is going to come down to the defense and how the Warriors are going to tackle this beast that's Luka Doncic. I mean, he's been amazing. The way he slows the game down and sort of just makes it at his pace. It's amazing the fact that the kid's only 23 years of age, and as we've mentioned many times on this show before, he's only second to the great one, Michael Jordan, as far as playoff average goes, and he's not too far off that.
Yeah, I know you've mentioned them many times. He is better than Michael Jordan.
No, don't say that again. And don't make me laugh because it hurts. My stitches might pop out, mate. So,
all right, let's take a look at the game odds for today, Parky, and then we'll get some predictions on this series as well. The Warriors entering game one favorites, $1.47. Mavericks, $2.72. The line's at -5. Totals at 214. This one's going to be live on ESPN tomorrow morning. Only one game per day from now on, unfortunately. Parky, what are you seeing here?
The thing that stands out to me is the over in this one. When you put that up there, the 214, I think, I think they're going to have a good crack at getting that total pretty easy. So I think the defense, even though I just said that Luka slows the game down at his pace and everything, they did that against the Suns and they scored 123 points just the other day, and they held the Suns to 90, I think. But I don't think they're going to be holding the Warriors to anywhere near 90 points. And we all know that those Mavs can score at will. So, yeah, I think it's going to be an amazing game, a game one tomorrow. And, we'll wait to see how it goes. I'd like to just wait and see, how that defense flows and how it goes as far as picking the Warriors, because I think, they're going to take a game or two to figure out how to guard Luka. And even in saying that, Jason Kidd made some great adjustments as well. So, just a fascinating series. But as far as the betting goes in that game, I'm really liking the over 214 points.
You mentioned a good thing about Jason Kidd. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves for his in-game adjustments. He copped a lot of flake, especially early in his career, about that sort of thing. But I think he's vastly improved on that. I think game one is going to be very critical in this series to sort of determine who ends up winning. Look, I think overall Golden State will win it. I don't know. I just like Dallas to sneak that game one. I think they might steal that game one.
Oh, so you like their 5-point head start? Is that your official
pick?
I'm going to write that down as a Nick pick.
Yeah, write it down. Lock it in.
I'm going to write down the Nick pick because at least you had the balls to come out and pick a team in this one.
Yeah.
I only went for the total. So, no, we're going to put that down. So Nick's pick is the Mavericks plus 5 points.
Yeah, I might regret that come Friday morning, but I'm sure you're going to let me know all about it.
Yeah, well, you haven't done too well following my picks lately, so we'll wait and see how they go. But no, it's going to be this is we're in heaven right now with these conference finals. I think it's we've got like a game every day basically.
Yeah.
So we can so it just works out. Perfect timing for the show as well, because we've always got those 2 games coming up. So, really looking forward to what's ahead.
It's going to be a fun conference finals for both sides, the East and the West. I'm definitely enjoying love and playoff basketball at the moment. All right, Parky, we're going to get out of here. We're going to catch you again on Friday morning, and I'm pretty sure you're going to let me know about my pick if I'm wrong.
Oh yes, no, we'll have a bit of fun with that. We'll have a bit of fun with it. But you've been doing okay with your picks, mate. So it's only when you follow mine that sometimes you get a bit caught up. But early days I was on fire, but I've been humbled a little bit recently. But hopefully these conference finals we can get back on track.
It's just the unpredictability of the NBA. Any team can win on any given night, so it's definitely fun to watch. All right, Parky, we're to catch you again on Friday. This has been another episode of the Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our good friends at topsport.com.au, and we'll catch everyone Friday morning.